Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today is MODA Blockheads 5, week 10, block 9. This is the end of part 1, the last block I should say for part 1. Next week we will get the setting instructions where you can either make a lap quilt, a table runner, or a bunting. I'm going to make the lap quilt. I'm really excited to have a Christmas lap quilt. And then part 2 starts in January. So you could either save these blocks and add it to the ones you're going to make in part 2, or you can make 2 separate quilts. Now for part 2, we're going to make 30 blocks from January through July. So that'll make a decent sized quilt all by itself. But if you want an even larger quilt, you can combine the two. I'm going to start with a whole new fabric line in January. I haven't decided which one yet. I've got a couple picked out, but we'll see which way I go when we get to January. So I hope you come back and join me then. But until then, let's finish block 9. And I'm really excited because this week is another paper piece block. It is Candy Striped Holly Star by Serenity. She's Sarah Thomas. She's a newer designer for MODA. She does bright, beautiful colors. I got to meet her at Quilt Market. She's a super sweet lady. She's from the Midwest like me, so it was really fun to meet her. So go ahead and print this out and we will get started. Now, there is some applique holly and berries if you made a Christmas type quilt or whatever and you'd like to put those on top. Because my fabrics are already Christmassy and the ones I was planning on using for this block already have holly in them, I'm not going to do the applique part. I'm just going to do the paper piecing part. I will just do a small section with you guys since we've already done a paper piecing block, and then finish it up and put it together and then show you all my blocks done. So let's get started. So the first thing I do when I do a paper piece block is I always cut out all my pieces and I mark them with the colors that I want to make the piece. So my B2, B3 is going to be white, as you can see, and my B1 is going to be my green fabric. I'm going to do one half of my block red and one half of my block green. I've already done my first half, and this is what it looks like. I really, really love it. Now, like I said earlier, there are some appliques you can put on top of this block if you like that are holly berries and holly leaves, which you can see are in my fabric. So I'm not going to use the applique shapes because I've already got that in my fabric. So I'm going to set this one aside. I've already done one half. And we're just going to do this one piece together. It's the same technique that we used to do the FPP block that was a few weeks ago. So if you remember that, this is just going to be a refresher, and I'm going to leave you guys on your own to do the rest, and I'm going to finish my block and I'll show it to you. But just remember with the first piece of FPP, and this is the 12-inch size or the 12.5-inch size, 12-inch finished. The very first piece, you're sewing from the side with the lines. So your fabric is going to be on the back side from where you're sewing. So the very first piece always of FPP is going to be pretty fabric down, and then your next piece is going to be the fabric, the pretty side or the side that's going to go up once you flip the block is going to be towards you. So my first piece is going to be this green one, and my second piece is going to be white. So I'm just going to make sure, yep, that fully covers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this right on the line just to make sure that I'm covering this when I turn it over. And you can feel where that paper is. I'm going to lay that right on the line. It should cover that whole spot. Yes. Alright, so I'm going to sew right on this line, and then after I do that piece, we can put on here, on this piece. So this is a fairly simple FPP pattern, which is really nice. So I know a lot of you are beginner to FPP, but nothing to be afraid of. Oops, my sewing machine came unplugged. Hold on. That won't help. My little son was down here earlier, and every time he comes down, he likes to play with my sewing machine, and sometimes he unplugs it. So, pretty sure that's what happened. Alright, now we're cooking with gas. So I'm going to sew right on that line, and I actually sew off of it a bit when I come off the edge, and I sew a couple stitches over that way as well. So now before I cut anything, I'm going to make sure that my piece is going to completely cover that, and it is. So I'm going to fold this paper back And I'm going to go ahead and trim this off. That's our 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then I'm going to finger press this. And then give it a press with the iron as well. Okay. All right. So now the last piece I need for this section, and there's 3 sections. I've already done the other 2. Here's one, here's another. There's a A, B, and a C section, and you'll do 2 sets of these. My one set is the green, and my other set made the red. But these are all constructed this same way. So this is quite a big piece, but this is what I had left over, so I'm just gonna use this. I'm gonna fold my paper back, see where that fold is at, and make sure that that covers, and of course it does because it's a giant piece. You don't need that much fabric, that just happens to be what I have left over. So I'm gonna go ahead and use it. I actually might be able to, let me see, turn this a different way so I can save more of this fabric. Let's see, yeah, that'll work, except I need to turn it over. Just need to make sure it's gonna cover my whole piece there. Okay, yeah, that way I'll have a whole section left over of fabric and I'm not wasting. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and sew this on that line. And if I did that right, it should cover, yes. All right, so all I have to do is trim that away, flip it, and press it, and then I can start putting my pieces together. So let me do that, and then I'll show you how I put the pieces together, and then we'll put the whole block together. So I actually forgot that I was going to show you guys how to trim this in case you are newer to paper piecing. This is a great pattern to start with because it's a very basic paper piecing. You're going to want to put your ruler, and you don't need a special ruler. There are special rulers for paper piecing. They're called add 1/4 inch rulers, but you don't need one of those. Don't go out and buy one, especially if you're new to paper piecing, you don't know if you like it, you don't need it. I've done a lot of paper piecing and I still don't use one. I use a regular ruler. So I find my 1/4 inch line on my ruler, and you're going to line that 1/4 inch line up on this solid dark line. The dashed line is your seam allowance when you sew the pieces together. So I'm going to line that right up, take my time, make sure it's nice and straight. And then I'm going to trim all this excess off. So I'm going to do that all the way around this piece. And you want to do that all the way around all of your other pieces. So as you can see, these are already trimmed. Here. And here. So I just need to trim up this piece, and then we can sew all these pieces together. Now you're also going to want to look at your diagram on the pattern. That'll show you which pieces go together, or how they go together, I should say. On the pieces, it does say attach A to B, and then it says attach AB to C. So follow those directions, but also look at your diagram to see how the pieces should go together. Some more advanced patterns than these, this is a very beginner pattern, actually say right on there or have markings on there to show you how to put them together. This one doesn't necessarily need it because it is such a beginner pattern, but it does show you in the diagram how they go. So make sure you check that out. All right, so this says join A to B and join B to A. So we're going to join these guys together right here. So as you can see, that's going to form part of our star, and eventually that's going to be the rest of our star. So let's put these two together first. So right sides together. Where this little notch is right here, it's going to line up with this notch right there. And we're just going to sew down right on that solid line. Line these up better than that though. On this solid line all the way down. If you stay on the solid line, if you cut on the dash line and you stay on the solid line, that is going to be your exact 1/4 inch seam allowance. The nice thing that you will find about paper piecing if you're newer to it is that you do get very precise blocks. So if you're someone that struggles with your 1/4 inch, you might really find that you like paper piecing because it gives you the exact line to sew on. So this is what it looks like right now. Before I do anything else, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off these papers right here in this seam. No, I'm not taking all the papers out yet. Just taking these guys off. You want to leave these other papers on until you put the whole block together. It makes the block a lot more precise and holds it together while you sew the whole block together. But I take these seam ones off and press this seam because I like to press this open. And the other thing with paper piecing is you might want to lower your stitch length, which is what I do. I lower it to about a 1.5, and I know that sounds really extreme and really small, and yes, it can be hard to pick out if you make a mistake, but I promise you, especially with paper piecing turns out a lot better if you can press your seams open. And if you make your stitches smaller, you don't have to worry about your seams popping if you press open. Plus, it's easier to get the paper off because you've perforated the paper with smaller holes. So it comes off a lot easier. So a couple of reasons there that I think that it helps. So some paper piecers also change their thread to an 80 weight, so it's a finer thread. I've never needed or felt the need to do that, but I know that a lot of people do. I've only ever used what I use for regular quilting, which is 50 weight, and I've never had a problem. So okay, so there's that. And I do have a little dog ear here that I'm going to clip off. And the reason I have it is because my printer, to make this, if you guys noticed on the pattern, there was a 1-inch square. When you print your pattern, make sure that you use your ruler and check that 1-inch square. Mine at 100% in my printer was not 1 inch. I had to make mine 105%. And to make the square be 1 inch, and that made that little piece right there kind of go off the paper a little. So I wasn't sure where to cut that, and I didn't want to cut off where I shouldn't, and then these didn't come together. So I just had a little extra, and that's why I had that little dog ear. But if your printer printed it with it on the paper, you probably won't have that. Or if you're doing the 6.5 inch size. Okay, so if you look at your paper, it says join AB to C. And this says join C to AB. Okay, so right there, just like that. Now this side should say over here, join ABC to ABC. That might sound funny, but what they mean is after we put this whole piece together, you're going to join this ABC piece to this ABC piece, and it's going to look something like that. And oh my gosh, that's so pretty. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and join this together just like we did the last one. And then we'll put the whole block together. Okay, so I've got both of my finished halves here, and the only thing I have left to do is join them together just like this. So again, I'm going to put them right sides together, line them up, and sew along that solid black line there. That's our 1/4 inch. And then this block will be done. I can't believe this is the last block already. This sew along seems to have gone so fast. And I kind of like that they broke it into 2 pieces, because then it feels like you're getting more accomplished. That sounds silly because we have more blocks to come, but I think the break makes it feel like, and if you want to make it into 2 projects, it's not taking so long to finish. Like, we're not going all the way to next July, so I can already see like a finished project, which encourages me to keep going for the next part. So if you're sewing these MODA Blockheads and you're doing both rounds, let me know below. Are you doing 2 different fabrics? Are you doing 2 different projects? Or are you going to combine all of the blocks into one big quilt? I'm very curious to know what people are doing. And if you are doing it into 2 different projects, what is your next fabric line pick going to be? I thought I had it figured out a couple of times now, but I keep going back between 2 or 3 different fabric lines, and they're all MODA, of course. I love MODA lines. I sell MODA fabric. This is a MODA project, so happy to use MODA fabric, although it's not required. But I happen to have a bunch of fat quarter bundles of different lines from MODA, so it's definitely going to be one of those that I can get some yardage for, or that I have some yardage for. I'm just not sure which one yet. So if you've already decided, let me know below. Maybe it'll be something that I like and will want to do as well. Or maybe it will finally inspire me to pick something. I just need to pick something and stick with it. I had intended to do Peachy Keen from Cora Yoder. I do have a fat quarter bundle and some yardage, but I found another quilt pattern that I saw that I thought would be perfect for that fabric. So that one is definitely off the table. So now I just have to figure out what I want to do. Okay, so I took the paper off there and off there, and actually you can remove all the paper now if you want to, but for some reason I like to press the whole block first before I pull it off. It just seems, I don't know, something in my brain makes it seem like it's more stable, although it's probably really not. Okay, so there's the whole block done. I'm going to give this a press, and then I will show you all of my blocks, and we'll talk about what we do now. Thank you so much for sewing with me today, Blockheads. I hope you enjoyed that. Here is block 9, all done. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Thank you, Sarah of Serenity. I absolutely love paper piecing, so that was a ton of fun. So what happens next? So next week, Wednesday, we should get the settings for all of these blocks. If you're going to take these blocks and put them into a finished project for round 1, you can either make a table runner, a banner, or a small lap quilt, which is what I'm going to do. Or you can save all of them and put them with your blocks for part 2, which begins in January. If you're going to save all of your blocks, I will see you in January to sew this. I'm going to be sewing part 2 as well along with you. But I hope you'll stick around my channel. I've got lots of other sew-alongs going on right now, plus Vlogmas coming up in December. And if you don't know what any of those things are, check out other videos here on my channel. They explain some of that. But if you are going to be making this part 1, into a project, come check out my channel next week. I'm going to definitely be turning this into a quilt, or well, definitely the quilt. I'm going to pick the quilt, but we'll see what it is. I cannot wait to see their setting and what they're going to have us do with this. All right, guys, well, take care. Have a great week. I hope you enjoyed MODA Blockheads 5, part 1, and I'll either see you next week or see you in January, but hopefully stick around with me at my channel for all the things coming up in December, because there's lots of fun stuff, a video every day, and some prizes and giveaways. So I will see you then. Take care. Bye.